told my mother what I did that summer in the nettle field. I was 17 and someone else, and I never fully healed. The man who asked me didn't ask me right. I didn't have the words to say. The nettle field is houses now in rows, but I remember every blade of gray. Nettle confession, nettle shame. Nettle grows back wild and fast the same. You can build your houses on the field, but the nettle underneath won't yield. Nettle confession, nettle scar. You are still exactly what you are. I'll speak it to the ground if not to God. Nettle confession, blood and mud and sod. My daughter found me crying in the yard last summer by the garden wall. She asked me what was wrong, and I almost let the whole confession fall. I swallowed it back down like iron water, like I always learned to do. There are things you keep to keep the ones you love from knowing what you've been through. Nettle confession, nettle shame. Nettle grows back wild and fast the same. You can build your houses on the field, but the nettle underneath won't yield. Nettle confession, nettle scar. You are still exactly what you are. I'll speak it to the ground if not to God. Nettle confession, blood and mud and sod. I'm old enough now to understand that silence is its own kind of sin, that the things we bury in the nettle field keep growing from within. So I'll stand at the edge of what I was and say the name of what occurred. Maybe the nettle field will hear me finally and let me go on. Just my word.
grows fast on a fresh turned grave, faster than mercy grows in a man. I've watched it cover the ones I've known. Since the grief inside me began, the gravedigger whistles while he works. He's made his peace with the dead. He says the moss don't care who you were, it just grows on what it's fed. Mossgrave, cover me green, cover what I was and all I have been. Mossgrave, grow thick and slow, let no one remember what's buried below. Mossgrave, hold what I gave, let the living keep moving past my grave. Mossgrave, take me into the stone. Mossgrave, I'm ready to go home. His own grave out behind his father's field. He measured it twice with a piece of old rope and then covered it and healed. He lived another 30 years after that. They say he slept soundly each night. Said there's peace in knowing where you're going. Said it settled something right. Mossgrave, cover me green, cover what I was and all I have been. Mossgrave, grow thick and slow, let no one remember what's buried below. Mossgrave, hold what I gave, let the living keep moving past my grave. Mossgrave, take me into the stone. Mossgrave, I'm ready to go home. There are graves in this churchyard with no names, just a number carved in stone. The ones who had no one to write their name, the ones who died alone. I come here on the dark of the moon, and I speak to each unnamed one. I tell them someone knows they were alive before the moss came and was done. Called him a saint when he healed the Watkins girl who'd been sick since she was 3. He laid his hands on her at the river bend, and she walked home clear and free. I knew him when he was just a man, before the stories made him glass. I knew the things he did in his own darkness. I watched the ember years go past. Emberglass saint, emberglass glow. Emberglass is what you make of what you know. half the fire and half the shine, half the darkness claiming to be divine. Emberglass saints, emberglass clear, showing what the people need to hear. I won't call you liar, I won't call you true. Emberglass saint, I just knew you. He came to me one winter and confessed without the costume of his name. He sat at my table and he wept a long time. He told me everything that he became. He said the Watkins girl had been improving 3 days before he touched her side. He just arrived at the right moment, wept. He said he couldn't hold the tide. Emberglass saint, emberglass glow, emberglass is what you make of what you know. Half the fire and half the shine, half the darkness claiming to be divine. Emberglass saint, emberglass clear, showing what the people need to hear. I won't call you liar, I won't call you true. Emberglass saint, I just knew you. Died in March, the whole county mourned. They put his likeness in the church. I sat in the back pew at the funeral and watched them worship from my perch. The saint they loved was partly true and partly the story that the story needs. All saints are made of emberglass and darkness. All saints begin as seeds.
Preacher came through in August with a tent full of heat and lights. He laid his hands on every willing sinner and he looked at them with copper eyes. He took the offerings and he healed the lame, or said the lame were healed. By morning he was 3 towns down the road and the lame were in the field. Coppermouth gospel, coppermouth word, sweetest poison you ever heard. Coppermouth preacher, coppermouth grace, salvation with a coppermouth face. He'll take your money and he'll take your faith. He'll leave you standing in an empty space. Coppermouth gospel going down smooth till you realize you've been made a fool. My aunt believed him when he said her cancer was washed in the blood of the Lord. She gave him every dollar she had saved and thanked him for his word. The doctor said come back in every month, but she put faith over medicine. By October she was gone and the preacher was in another state again. Coppermouth gospel, coppermouth word, sweetest poison you ever heard. Coppermouth preacher, coppermouth grace, salvation with a coppermouth face. He'll take your money and he'll take your faith. He'll leave you standing in an empty space. Coppermouth gospel going down smooth till you realize you've been made a fool. Tracked him to a town in Tennessee. I sat in the back of his tent. I watched him work the crowd like a craftsman works, like he always knew where the money went. I stood up when he called for the offering plate, and I said what I had to say. The tent was quiet as a grave all through it. Then he smiled and looked away.
The women in my line were made from ironbark. They bent but never broke. They raised the children through the famines and the wars, through every grief that came in smoke. They never asked for softness or for mercy. They asked for what they'd earned. They put their hands in everything that burned and came out rough and stern. Ironbark testament, ironbark line. Women made of harder things than wine. Ironbark mother, ironbark hand. Ironbark is how you take a stand. Ironbark testament running through my blood. Women who are barefoot through the mud. I carry every one of them in me. Ironbark testament, I'm free. Crossed the water in the winter with 4 children and 30 pounds. She said she never looked back at the shore. She only looked at where she was bound. She built her life in an unfamiliar country with her ironbark spine and her name. She never spoke of what she left behind, but I know all the same. Ironbark testament, ironbark line. Women made of harder things than wine. Ironbark mother, ironbark hand. Ironbark is how you take a stand. Ironbark testament running through my blood. Women who walk barefoot through the mud. I carry every one of them in me. Ironbark testament, I'm free. Of the line with the old name. The daughters took their husbands' names and went, but the ironbark lives in me regardless, no matter where the family was sent. I say their names before I go to sleep. I say them like a prayer or a sword. Every woman who survived to give me life, every woman who endured.
crossing out on the old saltpine road, where the two black highways meet. The locals leave their offerings in the mud at the crossroads, at the feet
of a wooden post with no name carved in it, and a rusted weather vane.
I've driven past it 40 years and always felt the cold before the rain.
Saltpine crossing, saltpine night. Saltpine is where you give up the fight.
Leave your sorrow at the wooden post, leave an offering for the one you love most.
Saltpine crossing, saltpine wind.
Saltpine is where the road bends in,
where you turn around to keep on through.
Saltpine crossing
is waiting for you.
A woman left her wedding ring one March, pressed into the black mud deep.
A man left both his work boots there in May, said he had no more use for feet.
A child left the drawing folded small of a family standing whole.
I saw it once before the rain took it. Something about it took my soul.
Saltpine crossing, saltpine night.
Saltpine is where you give up the fight.
Leave your sorrow at the wooden post, leave an offering for the one you love most.
Saltpine crossing, saltpine wind.
Saltpine is where the road bends in,
where you turn around to keep on through.
Saltpine crossing
is waiting for you.
Last autumn I drove out to the saltpine road with something in my coat.
I won't tell what I left at the wooden post. I won't write down what I wrote.
I drove home with both hands steady on the wheel, and the radio on low. Something lifted off my chest out there,
something I was ready to let go. I keep the vigil by the stone each year on the day that she was born. Not the day she died, the day she came to light, because I still need to mourn. The born day feels like something worth remembering. The died day feels like loss. But the born day feels like she was real and here, and that's the grief worth the cost. Gravemoss vigil, grave moss prayer. I speak your name into the empty air. Grave moss vigil, grave moss stone. I was never meant to do this alone. Grave moss birthday, grave moss light, burning one candle through the grave moss night. If you can hear me anywhere in the ground, grave moss vigil, you are found. Grave moss has grown thick since the first year. The stone is half consumed in green. I take it as the earth accepting her, pulling her into what I mean. By home, by rest, by something gentler than the life she had a chance to start. The moss grows where the grief is richest, grows where the love was in my heart. Grave moss vigil, grave moss prayer. I speak your name into the empty air. Grave moss vigil, grave moss stone. I was never meant to do this alone. Grave moss birthday, grave moss light, burning one candle through the grave moss night. If you can hear me anywhere in the ground, grave moss vigil, you are found. Someday I won't come to the stone in winter. Someday someone else will tend this place, or no one will, and the moss will take it all, and the stone will lose her name and face, but she'll still be held inside the earth regardless, inside the root, the rock, the rain. The grave moss vigil is just my way of saying I haven't lost her yet again. Mother's dress on the wedding day, a dress the color of old snow. The groom stood waiting at the altar rails with a smile that the guests didn't know. It was the smile of a man who owns a thing, not the smile of a man in love. She walked the aisle and she knew the difference, and she knew what it would come to show. Cindervow bride, cindervow flame, burning is the end of every name. She took the ring and she made the vow, but she planned the ending from the now. Cindervow bride, cindervow ash, love that owns you has to burn to ash. She smiled through the whole ceremony long. Cindervow bride, no one heard her song. They say the fire started in the parlor around about 2:30. The groom was found against the garden wall in his boots without a shoe. She was gone before the rooster crowed, her mother's dress on the garden gate. The sheriff said he'd never seen such a thing, but but he didn't search too late. Cindervow bride, cindervow flame, burning is the end of every name. She took the ring and she made the vow, but she planned the ending from the now. Cindervow bride, cindervow ash, love that owns you has to burn to ash. She smiled through the whole ceremony long. Cindervow bride, no one heard her song. 40 years have passed and the house is gone, just a scar where the foundation stands. They say she's seen in town some market days, an old woman with calloused hands. She never married again and never spoke of the husband or the dress. She tends a garden and she hums a tune that the neighbors can't quite guess. The bindweed grows up everything you build. It doesn't ask permission for the climb. It wraps around the fence post and the mailbox, and it does it every time. You think you've pulled it out and then it's back with twice the roots than before. The bindweed is the only plant I know that loves you to the core. Bindweed lover, bindweed vine, I wrap myself around everything of thine. Bindweed love is the love that stays, even when you pull and cut and raise. Bindweed lover, bindweed hold, you'll find me in the roots when you grow old. I'm underneath whatever life you build. Bindweed lover, I am filled. You tried to leave me twice and came back twice with the bindweed on your hands. I told you what I was before the start. I told you all my plans. I said I'm not the love that lets you go. I said I'm not the gentle kind. You laughed and said you didn't mind bindweed. You were wrong, and that's fine. Bindweed lover, bindweed vine, I wrap myself around everything of thine. Bindweed love is the love that stays, embrace. Bindweed lover, bindweed hold. You'll find me in the roots when you grow old. I'm underneath whatever life you build. Bindweed lover, I am filled. You're gone now to another county, another garden, another fence. I hope you find a tame and gentle love. I hope it makes some sense. But in 10 years when you clear the bindweed growing up your new back wall, you'll put your hand in the green of it and know I was never gone at all.
Foreman told us God was on our side. Well, the mine paid him the rest. We shoveled out the coal in the dark all day, with the black dust in our chest. My daddy coughed his lungs up at 52. My brother lost 3 fingers to the saw. The company sent flowers to the funeral. That's the only grace I saw. Gravel sermon, gravel word, gospel of the working man unheard. Gravel in my lungs and gravel in my bed. Gravel in the words that never get said. Gravel sermon, gravel truth. Nobody's saving nobody's youth. I've been preaching to the dirt and the stone. Gravel sermon, dead and gone alone. Brought a preacher to the union hall, said the Lord would intervene. But the Lord don't cross the company line, and he never has, if you know what I mean. We struck for 17 cold days in March. The scabs came by truck. The preacher prayed for both sides equally, which means he prayed for the ones with luck. Gravel sermon, gravel word, gospel of the working man unheard. Gravel in my lungs and gravel in my bed. Gravel in the words that never get said. Gravel sermon, gravel truth. Nobody's saving nobody's youth. I've been preaching to the dirt and the stone. Gravel sermon, dead and gone alone. Son asked me last Sunday after church what I believed about the Lord. I told him God's a story that the powerful used to keep the poor assured. He looked at me with his mother's eyes and didn't say
Maybe silence is the one true sermon. Maybe silence is what God has heard.
With its beak, I knew by the old signs my grandmother taught it had something terrible to speak. I opened the sash and I offered my hand. It stepped on my wrist without fear. It looked in my eye with its mirror black eye and said what I dreaded to hear. Raven testament, raven word, darkest message ever spoken and heard. 3 knocks for the dying, 1 knock for the dead, 1 knock for the truth you've been running from instead. Raven testament on my wrist, nothing that loves you can ever be missed. Raven, fly back to the place that you came. Raven, take me along all the same. Came from a long line of women who read what the ravens brought. She said every family has a blackbird who carries the things that can't be taught. She showed me the marks on the old kitchen door frame, notched for every message received. 300 years of bad news in the morning, and still the family believed. Raven testament, raven word, darkest message ever spoken and heard. 3 knocks for the dying, 1 knock for the dead, 1 knock for the truth you've been running from instead. Raven testament on my wrist, nothing that loves you can ever be missed. Raven, fly back to the place that you came. Raven, take me along all the same. All the same. But left 1 black feather balanced on my windowsill. I haven't moved it for 7 long months, and I doubt that I ever will. Some messages you carry in your hand, some you carry in your chest. The raven only tells you what you know and leaves the knowing to the rest.
Laid him out on the kitchen table with pennies upon his eyes. His hands were crossed on his good wool coat, the one he wore at sunrise. We brought the whiskey and the candles in, and we sat through the whole dark night, singing the songs he asked us not to sing, till we got the words right. Dark water wake, dark water song, singing for the ones who won't be long. Dark water candle burning down to wick, dark water time is running thick. Dark water wake, dark water grief, singing is the only relief. Pass the bottle and hold his hand. Dark water wake for the dying man. Old Mara told the story of his youth, of how he stole a horse at 16 and rode it through the town on market day, just to make the women scream. He laughed the loudest at his own disgrace, and bought the owner twice the horse's worth. We laughed at the table in the candle dark, and shook the grief out for what it's worth. Dark water wake, dark water song, singing for the ones who won't be long. Dark water candle burning down to wick, dark water time is running thick. Dark water wake, dark water grief, singing is the only relief. Pass the bottle and hold his hand. Dark water wake for the dying man. Had fallen asleep, slumped over the table and chairs. I sat alone with his coin-covered face and whispered my unspoken prayers. I told him the things that I never had said, the thank yous, the sorries, the love. Then I blew out the last candle in the room and gave him back to above. We were born on the dirt roads between the mountains, where the pavement gave up and the gravel began. We grew up on the songs that our grandparents carried from countries that no longer held the same land. We learned that the dark is just part of the singing. We learn that the wound is part of the song. We learn that the ones who are gone aren't gone fully. We carry the dead as we carry along. Dirt road song.
clay. Dirt road songs at the end of the day. Sing it low, sing it long, sing it into the ground. Sing it for everyone lost and not found. Dirt road songs in the throat and the chest. Dirt road songs for the ones who need a rest. We have worked in the fields and the mines and the kitchens. We have worked in the cold and the heat and the dark. We have buried our children and buried our parents, and buried the things that were closest to heart. We didn't choose beauty, we found it in hardship. We didn't choose song, song chose us instead. The dirt road song is the sound of a people who sang because silence would leave them for dead. Dirt road songs for the living and dead. Dirt road songs for the words left unsaid. Dirt road songs rising up from the clay. Dirt road songs at the end of the day. Sing it low, sing it long, sing it into the ground. Sing it for everyone lost and not found. Dirt road songs in the throat and the chest. Dirt road songs for the ones who need a rest. Now we stand at the edge of an unfamiliar country, where the old songs are fading and nobody's sure whether the singing is worth what the singing costs, whether the old words still open the door. But I'll sing till the dirt road is swallowed by concrete. I'll sing till the last gravel stone is covered in black. I'll sing for the ones who came before and carried. I'll sing to bring something of all of them back. Table with your hand on the old family book. You swore the same way your father swore to your mother, with that same sidelong, crooked look. Your father's vows burned down the house eventually. Your mother stood in the cold. I should have recognized the family pattern. I was 22 and bold. Tindersworn vow, tindersworn word, dry as kindling you ever heard. Tindersworn flame, burning as our promises became ash on my hands, ash on my floor. Tindersworn vow, I don't swear no more. I kept your vows in a box on the shelf for 11 years. I kept them right, I took them out and read them on our anniversary by the dying candlelight.
The words were good, the words were beautiful, the way your father's words were too. The vows were true when you were saying them. I know that much is true. Tindersworn vow, tindersworn word, dry as kindling you ever heard. Touch a match to what a man has sworn and watch the whole thing catch and burn. Tindersworn vow, tindersworn flame, burning is how promises became. Ash on my hands, ash on my floor, tindersworn vow. I don't swear no last winter in the yard, watched every vow go bright and black. Some things you keep until you're ready not to, and then you don't take back. The kids watched from the window wondering. I told them it was just old paper. They seemed to understand the way kids do, that something ended in the vapor.
October, when the soil is ready and the light is done, we bring what we have grown and what has rotted. We bring it all beneath the dying sun.
The night soil is the richest of the offerings.
What we return to, what we took.
The land remembers every year we fed it,
every harvest in the book.
Night soil hymn, night soil give.
Feed the ground so the ground lets you live.
Night soil hymn, night soil prayer.
Return to the dark what the dark put there.
Night soil sacred, night soil right.
Darkness feeds the darkness in the night.
What you give the earth, it gives you back.
Night soil hymn,
night soil black. My grandmother said the old ones sang this
while they turn the compost in the fall.
She said the song keeps the ground from grieving
when the harvest takes the last of all.
She said a field that's never sung to properly
goes cold inside eventually.
She sang to every row she ever planted.
She sang it all by memory.
Night soil hymn, night soil give.
Feed the ground so the ground lets you live.
Night soil hymn, night soil prayer.
Return to the dark what the dark put there.
Night soil sacred, night soil right.
Darkness feeds the darkness in the night.
What you give the earth, it gives you back.
Night soil hymn,
soil black.
We leave the offerings in the turned earth there.
We walk back to the lanterns of the village,
And we don't look back and we don't stare,
because the old one said the ground needs privacy.
to do what the ground does at night,
To take the offerings down into the darkness,
and turn the dying into light.